You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
We can deport violent, illegal criminals. That makes a lot of sense.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
Obama was not the president for this system.
Do you think that House Democrats and Senate Democrats should try to cooperate with Donald Trump
if he tries to kick people off their health insurance? We're going to have a Youngstown street fight.
The American people, they voted against Hillary. They voted against this administration.
We pledge allegiance to one flag, and that flag is the American flag.
Welcome to the Abolitionists Round Table, your all-access pass to the 2017 Red, White, and Blue Conservative Revolution. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600. Now, here are your hosts, Del Marsh, Phil Starchel, and Janice Daniels.
All right, great. Thank you. Greetings. Thank you for joining the Abolitionist Round Table on this Saturday morning. We're in Wham Country, Wham Talk 1600, the conservative powerhouse. And again, it's our pleasure to be here, a pleasure to be a part of the Wham family. It's a pleasure to come to you every Saturday with as much information as we can. Again, we see the delusional party, that's the Democrats, and the delusional media coming up with delusional stories to try to keep their propaganda going, to keep the anger among people, to keep the anger among Americans. Americans are not even, they done kind of tuned them out after a while. Matter of fact, we know that this Russian story is just a fake story. Just all out fake. We know that it was made up. We know it was made up, and they want to continue with it. Matter of fact, Phil, I was insulted that of course we know that Comey just got fired. That's been the news in the news cycle. That's what they want. The news want to keep that in the news cycle. But before I do that, I just missed something. I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I heard last night that Phil became a great granddaddy again,
yeah.
And his granddaughter is now a mother again. So
for the first time.
For the first. Oh, I'm sorry,
yeah,
for first time. So this is a day to celebrate motherhood. And Milt asked a question, Phil, and audience, if you can ask. If you'd like to call in and answer this question, Milt did ask me a question. He said, "Can any person get here without a mother?" He said that that there was a design, man and woman, and that through woman she will offspring mankind.
Yeah.
And so if there is two same-sex people, so how do you get your offspring? Well, you still get them from heterosexuals.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heterosexual that you still need to be a part of this process. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Milt is next month. He's going to be celebrating again National Heterosexual National Heterosexual Recognition and Appreciation Month, and we'll celebrate with him. But go ahead, Phil. I want you to just tell our audience how wonderful it was to be a great grand again.
Well, it's wonderful enough to make me want to start an organization called Recognition of Big Mama and Big Daddy. because it is the biggest joy of my life.
Yes.
To have 4 great grandchildren, and man, I tell you, that is something.
Yep. And so it is something, and we want to celebrate those offsprings again. This is they continuing with the legacy of the Stargels, the Stargel legacy, and some of them, you're going to plant good seed in them. Some of them, they're going to reject it, but that's all right.
Yeah.
You did your part, and then the next, this other generation that's being produced of Stargels, I know that they have a great grandfather that's gonna teach them something.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. We can forget our roots and all of that, but we have some traditions that we need to preserve, and that one of the main traditions that we got to preserve is we need that knowledge passed on from this generation to the next, because you can see the millennials and the Generation Xers, they have seemed to have rejected that legacy and that traditional traditions that we passed on to me and to you.
Yes.
And I hope that this is not the last generation because we had the greatest generation.
Yes.
I don't think we'll ever have another generation like the greatest generation. But that was the generation that I followed.
Yes.
And I look at our generation. We had some great people, but the whole generation didn't seem to be great. That generation was great.
They did, because they rose above something. They rose above themselves. It was about the greater good. They saw that if it's not about the greater good of our country, because we were going to all be enslaved, and so they did learn something from that.
Because socialism is enslavement, and that's what I reject, and that generation rejected it.
We do, and we have to keep teaching on that. I was looking for some books. And some of the books that I'm gonna grab, and I'm going to work on that. I'm going to start reading. But I want to, because I heard some stories of people. I started hearing. I don't remember where I heard it at, but I was listening to some stories of people, and they were sharing their stories of living under communism.
Yes.
And escaping communism. And so that prompted me to you know what, I'm going to find me a bunch of books that are people's story living under communism, and they were able to escape it, because people think that there's no big deal living under communism. Here in America, people that's actually celebrating a socialist. Remember, he got he got more votes than during the primary than the crime family, the Clinton crime family. So I'm concerned about this state right here. The right person, the right message. I mean, they can really send this state down the wrong road.
And what I see is the march to socialism has done one thing. I mean, look, they want to control you coming in with this idea that we can afford to throw away 1 million babies a year through abortion. Actually, that number is much higher.
Oh, my goodness. Did you hear? It was who was it just recently? I'll look it up in a few minutes. A lady made a comment, the reason why we in this mess with global warming is, she said, is because we didn't get ahead of abortion ahead of time and abort more babies. And so now liberals are starting to become more telling about what they really feel about these children.
And
you celebrated life, but liberals believe that life is going to be added to the problem of global warming. And this is a lie.
And that whole issue is, look, if you can abort them coming in, how about speeding it up going out? I'm talking about us.
Okay. All right.
My generation,
so, you at 60, all right, you lived a good life, here go a pill, and
take
just
the green or the blue.
And the green or the blue, or you can try to just make it on your own, which from this point on, the state will no longer medically support you.
And that's exactly why it is so easy for me to tell people, if you believe that the government knows better what to do with your health than you do, then you are an idiot, and you may need to have Obamacare or Hillary care. Because believe me, if you get socialism if you socialize the medicine with that single payer nonsense, then you can bet your bottom dollar that when somebody comes to you and tells you, you got a diagnosis of cancer. Oh yeah, I got it quick. Yeah, but you know what? It's going to be 6 months before you see a specialist to figure out a way to save your life. That's what it's all about. That waiting time that's inevitable in these single-payer systems. No country has been able to defeat that long waiting period. Canada, England, none of those countries. They all have people stacked up and waiting around the corner. The only reason why it's going on as long as it did in Canada is because we were their safety valve. We were able to help them defeat that. But it's coming to an end because we are going to be struggling with that.
You're right. We've heard stories about people that were on a waiting list, just decided to go across the border. They had dual citizenship.
Yeah.
Well, I just go across the border. Yep. And I can go ahead and be treated a little sooner. But here, okay, we got away from our agenda a little bit. Here, folks, again, we want you to join the conversation. We're gonna, get a little bit into Comey. Comey, he called this is an insult right here, and it was time for Comey to go because he was lowering the integrity of that office at the FBI, just bringing it down to a level that we've never seen it, where the FBI, that department, it was no longer trusted at all. Absolutely. But when Comey called Trump crazy after the Obama, his claim of the Obama wiretapping. This was from the Hill. Yeah. And we find out later that that it wasn't a wiretapping, but it was a surveillance. Right. We found this out a couple of weeks ago. One of the ladies that was a part of the Trump administration, the Obama administration, she said, we didn't want them to find out how we were unmasking them, and that again
they're playing with these words.
That's right. And later on, you heard her on other stations. She was trying to unravel what she said. She was trying to. Because she saw that, oh my God, I just put myself out there. I just put Susan Rice out there. Of course, that Susan Rice, we had a number of revelation about Susan Rice in the unmasking. And so this is all going to lead back to our first community organizer ever elected to the highest office. I said that to somebody. They was highly offended when I said that. Wait a minute. When he was elected, did you know that he put it was on the White House website, his previous occupation, and he put on there community organizer. Did you know that he was proud of that? He was proud. So people are highly, highly upset when I call him a former community organizer. I said, go to the website. Now, as he grew in that office, they did take it down, and they tried to evolve him, because he's an evolver in his and things that he do. And they changed it. But anyway, the former community org. So they and again, this news media, everything that's going on right now, they didn't like Comey in the first place, but everything that's going on with Comey and with Trump and with the news cycle is all about protecting Obama's legacy. Everything is about protecting his legacy. They're not really showing, Phil, all the great things that's going on right now with the Trump administration. I mean, some really great things that's going on. But here, I'm getting we're getting off subject. Because we want to get a little bit into Comey a little bit. Then on the other side of the break, we have a guest. I did send you an email too, Derek. We had a guest that's going to be with us, Chris Harris, Executive Director of Unhyphenated America. And so he want to share with us. They sent us, his office sent me an email. They'd like to talk about how after being under extraordinary cultural pressure to vote Democrat as a group for decades, more and more people from the black community are standing on their beliefs and conservative values. So he wanted to talk a little bit about that. We're going to get in a little bit with him about black history. One of the things that just came out, Phil, is that Hillary lost because of the black vote didn't come out.
Oh man, they're gonna beat that horse again.
And so, so now they want to beat up on blacks again. Here they done had 100 years of from Ralph Ginsburg book, 100 Years of Lynching. They done intimidated and manipulated blacks for over 100 years, but now they want to turn around and blame them. They only represent 16% of society. If we look at the number of people 18 and that vote, I mean, it's probably somewhere. And once you take all the young kids out, I mean, the people that votes and then you take out a number of people that don't vote and in different places, it's not as I'm thinking it's somewhere maybe 8-9% that actually vote, and so that 8 or 9% that actually have a vote, they already give you 90%.
Yeah.
But
well,
then
90+%.
And they still saying that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
That they need more than that. For soon, Phil, they're going to be coming knocking on our door and ask us, we need your vote too.
Yeah.
And if they can't get our vote, they're going to try to. Intimidation will come.
What if that day when Obama got elected, and we went out to the polls? What was they telling you? Better not vote Republican.
You know what was funny? Some of the black left wing radio stations. But here I can tell my own personal story. You can tell your own personal story. Mill can tell his. I mean, I went to the poll, and this is during a primary. This is when you have to ask for a specific ballot, and I hand the lady my card, and I hand her what ballot I wanted, and she gave me probably a 5-minute stare. And I asked her, was in a very aggressive tone, and I brought my voice up a little bit. Is there a problem?
Yeah.
Is there a voter intimidation going on here? Oh my goodness gracious! Phil, she couldn't get it to me fast enough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I went in there and it was quite a few people in there, and I handed her and asked it, wrote down what I wanted, and I get to the thing to vote, and it's got Democrats on it. So I got to go back over there and hand her the ballot and tell her. I said I wanted a Republican, and she said, "Oh yeah, you did say you wanted a Republican ballot." Everybody turned around and started looking to see who. I said, "Well, man, that was she outed me." And
yes.
I guess
that's a good way. She put you out.
Yes.
Yep. So you was out the closet, huh? At that point, man. Oh man.
I mean, not that I was embarrassed or anything, but I mean, but it was sort of strange. I mean, that she would say that because she just loud. I mean,
and she don't even know, but that's another Democrat tactic. Yeah. That was a Democrat tactic right there.
That's the real voter intimidation.
And I should have had that. If I can, the first part of the break, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna talk about that. How when blacks went to those voting booths, there were Democrats. No matter what color they were Democrats. They were Democrats standing there at those polling booths, and they wanted to influence a person on how they voted.
Yeah, and they did.
And they did intimidate them on the way they vote. Man, this is way away from Comey. But I guess this is something we still needed to talk about. But here I want to give our listeners of course I'm gonna do this for a few months. This is our Civil War. We want to test your Civil War knowledge. So I want to give you the second question, and go ahead.
Well, I just want to say before, we got away from the subject, but if you notice that the Democrats, whenever there is an issue or whenever there's a gathering, then they come out with their war stories.
Yes.
They all got to tell you that they were stopped that while they were driving and they didn't have their license plate tag on correct or something. And they got all of these stories. But when we tell them, then they figure that there's something wrong with us telling our side of the thing. But we have just as many war stories, so that's
right.
why I think that we should tell them whenever we get a chance
Actually,
to.
you're right. When if like what happened to me and what happened to you, just at that voting booth, you know what? Do you know a liberal would have called the news and they would have did a news story on
Yes,
that
they
and made
would've.
a big deal out of that?
Yes, they would have.
Me and you just ignore it, brush it off. It ain't no big deal. Now something like that. I wanted here. Let me just say this. I was doing business with somebody. I got in their car. They had on the passenger side, sitting on top of a floor mat. They had a Trump sign in their car. So that just let me know that they done ran out, stole a sign, stole one of his signs, and they got it in the car. And they thought it wasn't a big deal at all, because that's the trend that was going on in the country.
Yeah.
That again, this is a Democrat tactic again.
And there's an article on there today about Maxine Waters saying that she is jeopardizing her career because she's resisting. I mean, nobody ever said anything about resisting Obama. They went at him on legitimate arguments about policy and about the law, of what the law says in this country. Nobody ever went and opposed Obama because they just think that he shouldn't be the president. And why not? I mean, he wanted legitimately fair and square. And yet and still you got people out there telling people to resist. You got elected officials telling people to resist.
Part of the resistance movement.
And Hillary Clinton talking, come out in the Black Panther leather coat, talking about resist and persist and all of that nonsense. So she wasn't satisfied with the I ain't no ways tired. Now she done picked up Jesse Jackson's rhyming, resist, persist, and insist, and all of that. So.
You're right about that, Phil. Yeah, she's a part, and Maxine Waters a part of this. Now she was on. I saw her. I think we played it a couple of weeks ago when she was on MSN, and she said that I didn't say that we should impeach him because the news guy said, you know what, should we wait till we get a little bit more evidence before we call for impeachment? And she said, well, I never called for impeachment. Well, hold on, you have called for impeachment. You tweeted we should impeach him without any evidence. So again, he pointed out that this Russian story still has no teeth.
No
it
proof.
still has
what's the crime?
Nothing. But they still saying that we need to investigate. This is another lie from the propaganda media that Comey said that he needed more money so that he can continue with his investigation on Russia. No, you don't need to continue. We know this is a dead horse. We know that you're not going nowhere. The investigation should have been it should be on the media, number one, and second, that propaganda, instead of him still chasing after this story, we all found out that without the FBI's help that the unmasking did happen.
That's right.
And he wanted to insult the President Trump with saying he's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the only crime that has been committed. You see, it's not a crime for her, what's her name, Rice, Susan Rice.
Oh, Susan Rice.
It's not a crime for her to look at the tapes and the surveillance, whatever the evidence was. It's not a crime, but it is a crime to unmask, as they call it. In other words,
and then leak it.
It
was not just the unmasking, but then leak this information.
And then and I know that Scooter Libby went to jail and did some hard time for that same
for
thing.
Something we really still don't know what he went to jail for.
He didn't. He didn't actually do it because it was Armitage.
That's right. And so, but liberals have found out, progressive have found out that they can do something like this. Okay, I didn't even get my my question out, my Civil War question. So we're on the other side of the break. I try to get it out. But if you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call. It's 734-822. 1600. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Sempre un amabile leggiadro viso in pianto e viso.
You're listening to the Abolitionists Round Table, patriotic, red, white, and blue, conservative all-access radio, with your hosts, Del, Phil, and Janice. They're leading the charge in advancing the conservative revolution. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600.
Hello, I am Milt, and this is Logically Speaking Uncensored. Builders versus destroyers. An undeniable truth of life is that every human activity is governed by the restrictions of time, and that includes the building of material things as well as political and human relationships. The cardinal rule of time is that invariably it takes more time to build than to destroy. In my commentary, I define builders in general as positive people and destroyers as negative people. Builders are governed by time constraints that do not apply to destroyers, who only need an outlaw opportunity to violate rules and regulations of civil and social protocols to commit their dastardly deeds. The United States from its beginning has been a nation of builders versus destroyers. The founding fathers as builders constructed a constitution that became the building blocks for the foundation of a great nation. Presidents Washington, Lincoln, Truman, and Reagan were builders who through perilous times built political and national fortifications that stopped unrelenting anti-American destroyers dedicated to national destruction. However, Presidents Carter, Clinton, and Obama, with an armada of destroyers such as communists, fascists, and socialist Nazi sympathizers, almost brought the nation to the eve of destruction. The Democrat Party as destroyers and supporters of slavery, segregation, racism, and white supremacy provoked a civil war that killed thousands and in 4 years almost destroyed a nation, the United States, which took nearly 100 years to build. Democrat Party destroyers have virtually eradicated the original principles of the academia from kindergarten to the citadels of academia, with immoralities and unpatriotic venoms that has systemically poisoned society and demoralized the military with political correctness and open homosexualism. Democrat Party liberals have almost destroyed the heterosexual family foundations of marriage between one man and one woman by legislating abortions and out-of-wedlock socialist entitlements and the elimination of the American health system with mandated Obamacare fascism as they attack Christian values and the sanctity of God with fake gender unbridled hedonism. To illustrate the rapidity of comparative time disparity between builders and destroyers, the erstwhile World Trade Center buildings in New York, which took years to build, on September 11, 2001, were destroyed in a few hours when evil, humanity-hating Muslims crashed airplanes into the buildings. Therefore, it is illogical and unrealistic to expect even master builders like President Trump to correct, rebuild, and repair in a year the 8 years of destruction caused by master Hate America First destroyers like George Soros, Black Lives Matter, Code Pink, and MoveOn.org, and former President Ali Obama's Rainbow Army, assisted by Benedict Arnold Republicans John McCain, Susan Collins, Lindsey Graham, and Paul Ryan. Although destroyers' pathway for destruction takes less time, positive builders given enough time will prevail. I am Milt, Logically Speaking Uncensored, saying, think about it.
All right, great. Oh man, was that thought-provoking right
Yes,
there.
it
Milled
was.
again
Yes, it
from
was.
Joshua's Trail. Do a good job. Again, this is Dell with the Abolitionist Round Table. Again, if I could just share the story that the Abolitionist Round Table it was birthed out of Joshua's Trail. It was Joshua's Trail and the Abolitionist Round Table. And so it was an expansion that happened, and then the Round Table expanded even more field, spent off of him and Reverend Didderine, and started another show. So again, the Round Table and the movement of the conservative voice is continuing to grow, and Wham Talk 1600 is a part of that growth. And so we're very blessed to be a part of the Wham family. All right, so we're going to get to our guests. Again, this is Christopher Harris from Unhyphenated America. He's the executive director over there. And so he has some things he wanted to share with us concerning leftist politicians spending billions of dollars to divide us and so forth. So we're going to go right to Chris Harris. Derek, if you don't mind getting us the executive director on, and we can get right to our conversation.
Hey, how you doing, Dylan?
Hey,
Phil?
good. Good morning, Chris. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. So it's I know you have some things that you want to share. I know you got a number of projects that you still have to get to this morning. So I want to let you go ahead right away and jump in there and share with our audience what you want to talk about the leftist politicians spending the billions of dollars to divide us. How under extreme pressure, culture pressure, we all feel, and I shared our story a few minutes ago, how to vote for Democrat, and how Phil and I we were at the voting. We went to go vote. This is during the primary, and I gave the lady my my primary ballot, and when she seen it was a Republican, she gave me a 5-minute stare. I'm 53 years old. And so another lady gave Phil the wrong ballot. She gave him a Democrat ballot, right. And when he went back, she said to him, "Oh, that's right. I didn't realize. I forgot you said you wanted a Republican." Yeah. So go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No problem. No, that story has actually been repeated several times over. I didn't necessarily get the 5-minute stare, but during the general election, when I asked for the Republican ballot, I definitely got. Well, as a matter of fact, I had the same thing where I asked for a Republican ballot. They handed me a ballot. I went to go fill out my ballot, and when I sat down, I said, "Oh, wait a minute. There's no Republican candidates on this ballot." So I had to go back and say, "Excuse me, you gave me the wrong ballot." She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I live in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Yes.
So it's a very diverse county, but it's largely Democrat. And of course, you're not going to see too many people who look like me who are Republicans. But the interesting thing is whether they realize it or not, or maybe they're trying to ignore it, there is a significant increase in the number of conservative blacks out there. Now, there are those who are very vocal, like myself and like you gentlemen, who study these issues. Because here's the thing, conservatism, if you're black, well, conservatism in general nowadays is not for the faint-hearted, but especially if you're black, it's not for the faint of heart. As I've said this multiple times, Del and Phil, that you would get more love from family and friends if you came out of the closet as gay rather than coming out of the closet as black.
True that.
If you can come, I'll point at Magic Johnson, right?
Yes.
Magic Johnson and his son EJ, right? I saw a picture. He was wearing a Matador outfit.
Oh my goodness!
He had more makeup on than his mother, and he had on a Matador outfit. And I was like, Lord Jesus, and Magic just had the smile on his face with his family. The family portrait. And I'm just like, yeah. The funny thing is, if his son was wearing a T-shirt that's that said Donald Trump on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That picture would have gotten more backlash in the black community, and in fact, it would have hurt Magic's business more if he was wearing a Go Trump, T-shirt than he was standing there. The funny thing is, though, EJ is not a little dude. That's a big old dude. He's like 6'4". It's like, where do you find clothes to fit you when you're cross-dressing and you're like 6'4", 250? Where do you find clothes to fit you? But anyway, that's
all right. You might get yourself in trouble now. We got a lot of liberals out there listening now.
But in all seriousness, it's one of those things where there are many more of us than people are aware of. And in fact, I've actually said that to someone, and I kind of quietly whispered at my wife's office Christmas party. A lady was shocked to find out. She met me. She really liked me. We had a great interaction, and I guess I don't run around saying, oh, by the way, I'm a black conservative Republican. In fact, I do radio and TV as a black conservative. I don't run around saying that. It's just, if it comes up in the conversation, it does. Yeah. But I guess during the conversation with her, my wife had mentioned, I was away, I was on the other side of the party, and my wife had mentioned to her that I was a conservative Republican. Now, this lady was a Caucasian lady, and she's a teacher here in Fairfax County. And she came over to find me later on, and she was just like, I really liked you.
What?
Notice the past tense.
Yeah,
I liked you. She said, but she's like, well, I never met a black Republican. And I'm like, and I whispered to her, I said, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
And I had to laugh because that was a singular case, but really that's repeated all over the place.
Yes.
And if there were, if we walked around with, Donald Trump T-shirts, or if we walked around with Republican T-shirts, just, professing who we are or how we vote or believe, more people would be very shocked to find out just how many of us there really are.
Yeah, the thing that I have a problem with is when people say that they are Republican, there's a lot of moderate Republicans that say things like, well, I'm a Republican, but I don't go along with the craziness of some of the people in the party and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing that hurts us, because your example shows that when a person is a Republican, they can affect the rest of the family, and that means that the rest of the family don't really want to hear what they have to say, and they are very adverse to being just taking a look at a guy like Trump to find out whether or not making America great again would affect them in a positive manner. And so that's what we fight.
I don't even like to make Donald Trump. That's one of the issues.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake to make Donald Trump the poster boy, the face of, for example, being a conservative. Yeah. I am a Republican, but I'm a Republican way after I'm a conservative. I'm a Christian constitutional conservative who happens to vote Republican as long as the Republican Party stays most true to the principles that I believe in. Mm-hmm. Okay? And that's one of those things, now, of course, when we're in a two-party system, well, there's absolutely nothing that the DNC projects and tries to legislate that I agree with, and so there's zero chance of any Democrat. In fact, I had a fraternity brother who I told him, I said, listen, I like you, but I won't vote for any Democrat, period. Yeah. Just because I already know what you're going to vote for. Mm-hmm. Anything that you vote for along party lines runs contrary to anything that I believe in. So that's a whole nother story. But the point is that we have a value system, and when you have these value-based conversations, that is the thing to get and sit down with people about value-based conversations. That, the refrain that you just talked about, well, I'm not down with, and I've heard that a million times, I'm not down with the craziness in Washington, D.C. Yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, are you in favor? See, everybody, all of our family members and friends, well, I shouldn't say all because, like I'm originally from Detroit. I think I told you guys before. My family, I got a bunch of family right down the road there in Motown, right? And, we have the family members who are about something, ones who get up every day and go to work and are industrious. Some of them are business owners themselves. They tend to be very conservative in their ideas because, like, for example, taxation. They're born and raised in Detroit. Is there any better example to look at than Detroit for what's wrong with Democrat policies. I think that is there's very few places in the country that epitomize Democrat policies better than Detroit. So, but the conversation that I found is not, the best thing to do is not to talk about being a Republican, is to talk about conservatism and talk about our principles. And when we connect people with that and to say, hey, listen, those principles that you just said you agreed with, the DNC does not agree with them at all. I'm not trying to turn you into a flag-waving Republican, but I am trying to let you know, when you stop and think about what you just said you believe in, there's no one in the leadership of the DNC who holds those beliefs. No one.
The one thing that I try to do is a lot of times they'll also say that I don't vote for the party, I vote for the man. That way they can say, well, I think he's the best man for the job. Well, but what job are you trying to get him to do? Are you trying to access stuff from the government, or are you trying to access a path for yourself to improve yourself in your condition?
Amen.
And that's what gets lost in this shuffle. And the Democrats have done a very good job of masking, what the objective is.
That's
true.
True.
They'll tell you we're trying to get people out of poverty, but all of the programs are geared toward keeping you in poverty.
Absolutely. And you have to continue to stay in that situation to qualify for
voluntarily.
Voluntarily, yeah, absolutely.
You volunteer to be in poverty.
Yeah.
So that's the things that they have been able to do, and just the idea of making sure that we emphasize the conservatism, the traditional stuff that we've been involved in that did make us able to overcome the condition that we were in originally when we came here, and we certainly have come a long way.
Well, and I'll say this real quick before I have to run, fellows. But I just tell you a real quick story from my father. Once again, my family we're Detroit natives. My parents were born and raised there before my father joined the military. Parents are retired now in Colorado Springs. And my father texted me a message just to tell me something that happened once again. The similar story happened about a year or so ago. Long story short, and this is something that black folks need to think about. You say that you vote for the individual who's going to get the best for the job. Well, there's a philosophy that those individuals have to have. If you want good governance, there's the philosophy. And you take Colorado Springs, for example. One, the taxes are low. Okay, the property taxes are much lower. My parents still own my maternal grandmother's home in Detroit, and it's in disrepair. I mean, they really would like to try to get rid of it, but they can't find anybody to buy it. But the city of Detroit sent them a property tax bill for something like $3,900.
Oh,
it's a little crappy house.
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unprecedented
it's a little crappy
amount.
House.
That's an unprecedented amount in taxes that they would pay on something like that there. Unprecedented. And that's something we can talk about it another time, because I like to get into that. I mean, I have a house 10 times the size, and I pay less in taxes, and it's a shame.
Well, exactly. And so the same thing, my parents' house in Colorado Springs is about 3 times the size of the house that my grandmother had in Detroit, and my parents paid less than $1,000 a year in property taxes.
I like that.
but not only that, it's what you get for your property taxes. My father said that there was something to do with the utilities or whatever from the city. He called the city that morning, and, of course, they were like, Mr. Harris, we'll have somebody out there. And within like 2 or 3 hours, they had somebody out there to take care of the issue. He had a similar thing take place about a year or so ago, where they live in a corner. The gutter had gotten a little filled with, we had some heavy rain. The gutter got filled with, rocks and sticks, and so the water was pooling right there. And he called the city, and this was a Friday, and I'll tell you just a real quick thing. It was a Friday at 11 o'clock in the morning. He called the city and said, hey, can we have somebody come out and fill out the drain, empty the drain? They said, well, okay, we'll have somebody out there Monday morning, Mr. Harris. Now, if you call the city at 11 o'clock on Friday and they say Monday morning, you're pretty doggone happy. But here's the thing. Around 3 o'clock that afternoon, the city called and said, Mr. Harris, we have a truck that got freed up. We'll have them out there shortly. And at 4 o'clock, they showed up. They knocked on the door and said, "Hey, Mr. Harris, we just want to let you know that we're getting this taken care of." And my dad sent me a message and said, "Doggone it, that's why I love this city." You know? And see, that's the difference. It's the difference in the mindset. What you're paying in taxes, and then the mindset of those who are performing city services. That's the issue that you want. You have to ask somebody, if you're going to pay money, if you're going to be a property owner, what do you want to get for your money? And that's a difference in philosophy. And nobody in Detroit can say that they get service like that.
Yeah. Right. Amen. Amen. Well, Chris, we appreciate you getting up with this morning. We know you got things to do. I contact you soon. We're going to have you on again. We need to really dig into some of the things that's going on right now. And so, again, I'm going to let you go ahead and give your last thoughts, and then we'll get with you soon.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for listening. You can follow me on the Facebook page, which is just Unhyphenated America on the Facebook page. And you can check out some of the articles that we have, a recent one on the Unhyphenated America. It's www.unhyphenatedamerica.org. So it's unhyphenatedamerica.org on the webpage. And check out some of the articles, and I'd love to hear your feedback. But thanks for listening in, folks.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.
Good afternoon.
All right, Phil. So let's go back a little bit. I didn't even get a chance, folks, to do our. So here, I don't want to give it to you to think about it till next week. You got too much time to be around a computer. But next week we'll do our Civil War. Again, we want to even ourselves refresh ourselves on a history, our American history. So as of right now, we chose to do the Civil War, test our knowledge on our Civil War, on the Civil War, and then after that we'll go on to some other things, and we got some things that we want to give away, and so this is our opportunity to get some things from the Abolitionist Round Table. We don't have a problem with it at all, but. All right, so if you'd like to go to our website again is artofmichigan.com. We can use your support. Again, artofmichigan.com. You can click on that you want to support the Abolition Round Table. You can make a financial gift on there. Or if you'd like to reach us by mail, you can go to Art of Michigan, P.O. Box 135, Garden City, Michigan 48135. If you'd like to send us an email, some comments, or if you'd like to just say, I'd like you to talk a little bit more about whatever subject, we can spin off into that a little bit. You can send us an email at art@waamradio.com. Again, we can see that right now the president is in a real fight, and the fight that he's in right now, these are swamp people. The media and the Democrat Party have become the swamp people out there. Man, what we're seeing right now, we've never seen in our lifetime. We know 100 years ago it might have been this intense, but boy, is it Looney Tune.
Yes, it is, and it's all about one thing. We are in a war, and there's no doubt about it. The war is the values people and the people that want to take the value out of America.
Yeah.
They are dedicated to taking the wealth out of this country and distributing it all over the world.
Yeah.
And then blaming the people here that are trying to make this country what it should be and what it has been. And that is liberty and freedom as the paramount issue, not just the idea that you can get rich beyond your wildest dreams in this country, but wealth is not just monetary. It's not just money. It's being able to exist in an environment where you don't have to worry about somebody listening in on your conversations and stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, you just heard from Phil. Folks, we'll see you next week. We appreciate you getting up with this morning. Again, we're going to talk about National Heterosexual Recognition and Appreciation Month. We'll see you next week. Go to our website, artofmichigan.com.
The Abolitionist Round Table invites the Wham Talk 1600 listeners to continue the roundtable discussions by mailing correspondence to Art of Michigan, Post Office Box 135, Garden City, Michigan 48135.
Or follow Phil Delanjanis at artofmichigan.com. You can also send emails to artofmichigan@hotmail.com. And most of all, continue to listen every Saturday and tell a friend.